Hello everyone and welcome to FiST Chat, the vodcast that features discussions on the topics of film, science and technology. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined once again by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern as we take one step closer to blasting off to Mars. You getting excited there, Steve?
I'm very excited about our new mission and, and just imagine one day I might be talking to you from Mars. Not in real time, though.
Well, as we were just discussing, we might do a Skype FiST chat with one of us from Mars, the first interplanetary vodcast, perhaps.
Well, I'm putting my hand up for the mission.
Absolutely. But I'll just give you, for those who weren't aware, there was an experiment done in terms of simulating a mission to Mars. And just as a brief description, it was called the Mars 500 project. It was an international experiment, and it was held at the Russian Academy of Sciences Institute of Biomedical Problems in Moscow, Russia. That's a bit of a mouthful. Over 4 years, a total of 640 days was scheduled for it. But the one that obviously caught the most attention was the final stage, the 520-day simulated mission to Mars, where essentially 6 people volunteered to stay inside a room that was only 550 cubic meters, which would in effect be the same as what the space vehicle would have been if they were going to Mars. And they stayed in there for 520 days, which is pretty incredible and is testament to their dedication to the cause. It's really quite amazing. And on top of that, the communication was limited because they wanted to simulate the time delay. And also the fact that, that it's meant to be just like how they were on the mission. And although, things like weightlessness and radiation and, testing, that sort of stuff wasn't really part of the deal for this thing. This was really about, gathering that psychological and medical data of what happens to people if they're locked up. Well, I shouldn't say locked up, but
they are locked up, Ben. They are locked up.
When they're all combined in there in that little room. So, I mean, what were your impressions when you heard that they finished up? But you would have known about this beforehand, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, I've been following the progress on the website. Look, Ben, I think like you, you can't help but just admire that crew of 6. I remember when they went in and they sealed them up about 17 months ago now, they knew they were in there for the long haul. And they knew they were, simulating a mission to Mars. But that's a huge commitment, even without the danger of leaving Earth. And the fact that they could have come out of that chamber at any time, should anything serious have happened, which you don't get the choice of in space. But, that sort of commitment for science and for, furthering human endeavours, that's a remarkable achievement. And it's given us a lot of useful information as to what a mission might be like and the best way to look after the astronauts.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of research has to be done in this type of when conducting this type of thing because it's. We'll get to this, I'm sure, later, but Hollywood kind of makes it look easy in terms of space travel. It's kind of like, we fly just like how we fly in planes today. It'll just be easy to fly around in spaceships in space and get from here to there with no problems at all. But I think it's sometimes easy to forget that it's actually quite a long, tedious type of voyage, at least with the technology we've got now, and quite dangerous as well.
Well, even at the speeds that a rocket ship can travel, 30,000 kilometres an hour, or, it's still, huge distances to cover in space. And, that's the big limitation on current space travel. So I think we made the point, just if people have read our blogs, I highly recommend it. A good place to start is to look at, Apollo 13, perhaps. And another movie, In the Shadow of the Moon, which really show that, what space travel was like when they first sent people up there. And to tell you the truth, it hasn't changed much today, even with the shuttle, even with the current range. They've got more space, but the reality is that it's not very different. It's slow. If you want to go anywhere further than the moon, which is about a week round trip, you're talking 18 months to get to Mars. And once you're there, it's not as if you can then just step out on the surface. Every inch of the way, you've got to look after yourself with food and oxygen and water.
Absolutely. It's a huge endeavor. And again, that's why we owe a debt of gratitude to people like this who take part in these missions, because it's such a big thing. To be able to get that information. But, if, we segue a little bit into the, science fiction land, and as we were just doing there, you gave some examples of some realistic scenarios. 2001's obviously an obvious one in terms of showing things like the astronauts keeping themselves fit and healthy by, engaging in regular exercise in that type of cramped conditions, because in weightlessness you lose muscle mass and things like that, don't you?
Very, very rapidly, because your body doesn't work against gravity. So
so you don't need it. Yeah,
that's right. And it's interesting to see. This is one thing that you see in the sort of later generation science fiction films like Sunshine. Not 2001, because they have artificial gravity, but they actually show how they generate the artificial gravity in 2001. Yep. They don't do it in films like Sunshine or
pretty much anything else in
Alien or even Red Planet, which is set between 2047 and 2083. I think those three films. Basically they just get in. Maybe they go into some sort of deep freeze, deep sleep.
Yeah.
Which would, in human terms, to go anywhere, to the outer reaches of the solar system, if it's 18 months to Mars, you're talking about years to get to Jupiter.
Well, that's what was like depicted in films like the Alien series, and even most recently Avatar.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only way to do it. That you basically hibernate and hope that your body doesn't age or deteriorate in the period that it takes to go from one place to the other, and then you wake up later. But that brings up a whole other aspect to it that is really quite amazing. That say if you did eventually a round trip, you stayed there for a while and came back. In effect, when you came back, all the people you knew would be a lot older,
which wouldn't be any different to traveling at the speed of light. And this is the interesting thing, on this, we marvel at those guys going on a Mars mission who are going to be locked up for 18 months. Okay. In these Hollywood films we just mentioned, effectively you'd be leaving Earth for good. and there wouldn't be any point in coming back.
Yeah, exactly, because it just takes too long.
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, just imagine if you went on one of those mining missions like for Alien. Every time you came back, there'd be a new city. You wouldn't even be going back to the same city where you grew up.
No, but in my research for this episode that I thought was interesting, that it seems like any time Hollywood presents a scenario where astronauts go into hibernation, they usually end up with some nasty that greets them on the other side. Whether that's fate or whatever, who knows, or just clever Hollywood scripting, but it's always fascinating.
If Hollywood didn't do that, all they'd have is a documentary. We're in our spaceship, and then we got to where we were going.
Absolutely. The other thing, and you just alluded to it before, in traveling to a place like Mars, is the fact that you have to bring so much with you as well, just to sustain yourself. And I'm sure that the idea is, if you go to Mars, eventually the idea will be to set up a permanent presence on the planet as well. So the imagine of bringing all of that over that bigger distance. It's just an amazing sort of big idea. Yet they're all working towards it. The Russians, they're hell bent on getting to Mars by 2040 by the sound of it, even though they've suffered a few setbacks. But nothing's stopping them. And who knows? Maybe other countries will get right into it.
Well, that's right, and I think we don't know how that latest probe, Curiosity, is going. I think it's still stuck in low Earth orbit and may not make it to Mars, which would be unfortunate. But those explorations are really important before we send people, and especially robots. I think robots will be there probably about 20 years before humans. I mean, we already have robots on Mars now, but basically it's really important. The other thing is, though, that I find very interesting is that probably of the Hollywood films, only 2001 and Moon actually capture what a sterile environment it is inside, a spacecraft or living on a place like Mars. And I think that will be the big challenge for humans up there.
You're saying it's not like Total Recall?
If only it was. Look, I think as you mentioned, Ben, in your blog, I mean, if only it was like Star Trek, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah, you can run, walk around. Yeah, that's right. Run, walk around, fight aliens, you name it, it can be done.
New adventure every day, and then you go back to your comfortable quarters at the end of the day and have some relaxation.
Absolutely. With the gravity side of it, though, with 2001 sort of depicting that, it's really more a centrifugal force in effect, that's sort of simulating the gravity in that particular situation.
It has been. It's quite interesting. NASA have actually looked into this, but obviously given up. So I think 2001 accurately captures one way of doing it, which is just having the spinning hub like that. And the other way that you can do it is actually have, and in some of the Hollywood films, you actually see a very long spacecraft.
Oh, okay.
And even though you wouldn't know, if that was spinning like that in space, that would create gravity as well.
But in both situations, some sort of spinning is involved to create the actual force.
There has to be,
because in effect that's how gravity works on Earth as well, doesn't it? It's through.
Well, that's right. The thing is, though, with the spinning, you actually have the perhaps two capsules or two things tethered to each other, because otherwise, if you had a long tube where you got to the centre, there'd be no gravity, so there'd only be gravity at the outer extreme.
Which would make it very interesting and perhaps a lot of wasted space in the middle. Oh, very interesting. I guess just to wrap up, any final thoughts on the whole Mars 500 mission?
Well, yeah, I think, what's really exciting about that is that it shows that we can do it. Okay, we don't know about the effects of radiation and, the effects of gravity on astronauts. Well, we do know about the effects of gravity on astronauts for that long. But, with regards to the radiation, we don't. But it shows it can be done. And probably one area which is really exciting as well, and this is always captured by Hollywood, is the fact that there'll be men and women on future missions. I mean, there are already a lot of female astronauts on the space station and going into space, which is great to see, because all of these endeavours are really important that we as humans, men and women, partake in them all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good place to finish up, and we'll watch this space to see how things develop. So thanks again, Steve, for the chat.
No problems.
And so don't forget, our website is available at www.fistchat.com. Catch all of our links, MP3s, there's Facebook, Twitter, and RSS feeds, and now we've got our blogs up there as well. We've both done a blog on this particular topic, which will come up this week. So that's it for this episode. So we'll catch you next week.